Prefecture in Japan. Welcome to the Izu Velodrome. We've had 3 gold medals so far decided on the track. China taking the women's team sprint, Netherlands the men's team sprint, and Germany won the gold in the women's team pursuit. World records have tumbled in all 3 disciplines on this super fast track, and there's promise of more barriers to be broken today. The men's team pursuit finals is the jewel in what is a sparkling crown in today's program at the Izu Velodrome on day 3 of the track cycling program. We see the first individual events, the qualifying for the men's sprint and the start of the women's keirin. Thrilling racing. It's high-powered action all the way through to the finish. Many rounds, and it'll be thick and fast as the action comes through. 1 gold medal to be handed out today, and that is in the men's team pursuit. A final to savor as the old guard moves out and a new number of riders and teams come into the picture. Japan is, of course, the home to the keirin, originated in 1948, and now it's a multi-billion yen business. Over 40 tracks around Japan host these races, and there's one on virtually every single day, and it's part of the Olympic program and has been in the women's program for the last 3 years. We'll see it in focus today. So teams and riders have been preparing. It's the chance for the individuals to come to the fore after the 2 team sprint events and the women's team pursuit decided. And for the first time since 2000, the sprint competition format has changed. The number of main rounds increasing from 5 to 6, and there are 3 repechage rounds now. 24 cyclists will go through of the 30 to the next round, so 6 will be eliminated in this first round, which is a qualifying round of time trials. A flying start, then a time 200 meters, which will give them a time. The slowest 6 will be eliminated. The next 34 will go through to the following rounds. And there'll be rounds of repechages. Cyclists placed into heats of 3 cyclists each. The winner of each heat rejoins the round. 1 winner is in advancing to round 2. The remaining cyclists eliminated. This is the start list. Tracy Brown, 1 of 2 from Trinidad and Tobago. The only cyclist from the Czech Republic, Thomas Barbarek. And Jean Spies in his first Olympic Games representing South Africa. Jack Carlin for Great Britain is 1 of 2, of course. Stefan Bertiga is a former world champion. Nathan Hart from Australia. The Japanese champion, Yudai Nita. Nicholas Paul, the fastest man on the bike. He holds the world record. Sam Webster will carry the hopes of New Zealand as well. Hugeland, Labrayson, Dimitriev and Kenny, all very much hot favourites to go all the way through. First round is a flying lap, and thereafter it'll be races on the track head to head. So Nicholas Paul, there he is, the man who set the fastest time in Bolivia in 2019, 9.100. Jason Kenny, the Olympic record holder, the Olympic champion. He picked up his 8th Olympic medal yesterday in the team sprint. But he is perhaps under more pressure than ever before to defend his sprint individual title here in Tokyo today. It's a mouth-watering prospect, some wonderful track action to come. It's enthralling. We've seen world records, national records, Olympic records, and plenty of crashes as well in this velodrome. So Rochelle Gilmore sitting alongside me here. Rochelle, excited about today's program, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love watching the match sprints. So after the qualifying, when they're seated up against other riders, I think it'll be really exciting racing. And the men's sprint now, it's run over 3 days now. So it's a sprint event, very powerful, but it's also an endurance event in the sense that they have to back up so many times. Adding another round to the program, it's going to be extremely taxing for the sprint riders.
Well, it's the one discipline that's appeared in every time cycling's been on the Olympic program. The sprint has been involved. Paul Masson in 1896 was the first Olympic champion, and the first man onto the track here in Tokyo for the men's sprint is 27-year-old Kwesi Brown from Trinidad and Tobago. He's been training under the auspices of Craig McLean at the UCI's World Cycling Centre in Switzerland.
Yeah, he also has an incredible story because he was hospitalised for COVID when he went positive in 2000 and 20 at the start of the year for 38 days in hospital, and during that time he got word that the Olympics would be postponed a year. So he's had to come back from quite a fight. He then took, at the end of the year 2020, went over to the UCI Centre in Switzerland to do his final preparations. So let's see how he goes today as he just winds up on the top of the track. He's got to get on top of that gear. You saw that he got pushed out at the start, and now he'll really wind it up as he comes into the 200-metre mark.
That's 3 laps, and then the sprint, the 200-metre sprint, as he winds it up off the bank. The bell will set him on his way. This is Kwesi Brown from Trinidad and Tobago. They're building up a nice reputation for some sprinters there. They've got the world record holder, but Brown is the first on the track. He's going to set the benchmark today, and he is going to come home in 9.966. So all the pent-up energy released, inspired by Jason Phillip, who finished 4th at the Olympic Games in London in the sprint. The man from Trinidad and Tobago, he caught the eye of this young man, and he decided he would like to emulate and race at the Olympics. Well, it's thick and fast action. As you have not been with us over the last few days, you will understand, you get to understand that it's non-stop action on the track. Patryk Rodzikowski from Poland is next, 8th in the team sprint. The Poles did have a team there. And he's a bit of a Kieran specialist, to be honest. He's big and powerful, as most of these sprinters are.
Well, the sprinters do have a heavy program with the team sprint, the individual sprint, and the Kieran here at the Olympics, as he just starts to get wound up down the back straight.
Bank is 45 degrees, pretty much, so you use that to your advantage, and timing the...
They are riding huge gears in comparison to the past, and you can see their pedal revolutions are not as fast if they can't get on top of the gear, but he's a bit faster than the rider from Trinidad and Tobago as he just comes in 9.96. Oh, no, 3.3 of a second faster, so the crowd goes crazy.
9.594 for Rodzikowski from Poland. He's one of 2 Poles in the field. Their potential finalist or medalist is Mateusz Rudik, a serial World Cup winner this year, or the last couple of years. There's not been too many World Cups this year. Just Hong Kong and St. Petersburg. Now, this is from the Czech Republic, Tomas Babek, who raced the team sprint in 2008, did the 34-year-old in Beijing, but he's had a really, really tragic year. He lost his brother in an accident early this year, and has dedicated this ride and this performance at Tokyo to the memory of his brother.
So many riders have had to overcome so many things to be here on the start, and once they get here, it's all action. Really powering, he's flying.
Yeah, he was himself very badly injured in a car accident in 2011, but he's now putting down a time here for the Czech Republic. Is Tomas Babek, the 34-year-old, off the bend now to see if he can beat that time at 9.4, 9.5, but he's just outside. Second fastest, 9.856.
I think we're going to start to see some faster times on this track. I'm not sure if that world record can be broken. We've seen plenty of them fall here at the Tokyo Olympics. The track is fast today, is even hotter than it's been the last few days. So it'll be interesting to see how fast these qualifying times in the sprint actually get as we now look at Hugo Barretta.
Well, he was 13th in the Kieran in Rio, the Canadian. 11th at the World Championships in 2017 in this discipline. And he was the Pan American champion in 2017 and 18. Hugo Barretta from Canada. Winding it up now.
Well, he'll want to go pretty fast because he's ridden 9.77 before, which would make him the fastest so far.
He's going to beat that. The bell sets him up and away he goes. Hugo Barretta of Canada really fighting, driving it as hard as he can off the bend and into the finish for Canada. Hugo Barretta just under the time of Rodzikowski, but second fastest.
He lost that in the last half a lap because his wind-up was faster, and with a quarter of a lap to go he just lost it. That's how precise you have to be with your timing in your wind-up. Not use too much energy too soon when you're at the top of the track, and just get that timing right. Your legs can only be under maximum pressure for a certain amount of time. as we see Sergey Konomoru.
So, Sergey Ponomaryov from Kazakhstan. He raced in St. Petersburg in June. In fact, broke his collarbone and suffered a concussion in a crash there. Didn't get into racing. So he's recovered well if he's here on the start line in Tokyo. Not many actually raced in St. Petersburg. Perhaps only 3 or 4 of the riders here in Tokyo. Ponomaryov now from Kazakhstan.
We see what line he takes into the sprint as he crosses that white line. He'll come down the home straight now and he'll make his angle down to the white line. That's the white line. Time starts now.
Powering through is Ponomaryov from Kazakhstan. Off the bank. He's down at the moment and driving, but he won't better the time of Rajkowski. 0.338 down for the 4th fastest time as it stands now. So 9.932 for Ponomaryov of Kazakhstan.
You just see at the top of the track, once he starts building up, you've got to get that line right from the top of the banking down to the 200-metre start. That's where the time starts, as New Zealand are now on the track.
Well, he's been to Rio and London in the team sprint. Ethan Mitchell, the 30-year-old, was 7th in the team sprint with his teammates. And they were silver medalists in Rio and bronze at the World Championships in 2017. Ethan Mitchell, build it up you hear from the stands, looking fantastic. They've got some of the sleekest kit imaginable, New Zealand. Bell, Ethan Mitchell now trying to post the time that'll take him to the top of the standings. Loud encouragement for him from Reno Wolf, the sprint coach of New Zealand, as he drives it off the bank and into the finish here. Ethan Mitchell is going to go just under the time of Rajkowski, whose time is standing up well. Mitchell, 3rd fastest at 9.705.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy about that. His coach was telling him just to wind it up a little bit earlier, but it's all experience again. Every race is a new race. You've got to be on such good form on the day at the Olympics. Normally only every 4 years, this year 5 years, as we see Germany with Levi Maximilian.
Yeah, Max Levy is in his 4th Olympic Games, a real veteran at the age of 34, 4th in Beijing in this discipline, 4th at the World Championships in 2018. And he is holding his form because in 2019 he was a European champion over the sprint. He holds the German record at 9.563. Let's see how he goes here.
Well, he's winding up early. He's got the pace really high early, which means he's got a good long sprint in him as he just comes down the track for that 200-metre line. Timing will start now.
Very powerful man is Max Levy. He was in their team sprint. He looks onto the bend and gets to the task of trying to post the fastest time here for Germany. It looks good for Max Levy, but he's 0.52 down on Rajkowski.
So interesting, isn't it? We're seeing these riders, and that was because he wound up so early. So he was really putting his legs under pressure early, and his first half a lap, 3/4 of a lap, was actually fastest, but he just lost it in that last quarter of a lap. So it's really important to get the timing right, how much effort you put in. The wind-up, they call it, at the top of the track.
Remember, those of you who are watching for the first time, no brakes, no gears on these bikes. You've got to keep pedaling.
Every rider obviously riding their own personal gear. They kind of keep it a little bit confidential about what gears they're riding, and every day it'll be different, depending on feeling, depending on the speed and the humidity and the heat.
Well, this is the youngest rider in the field, the 20-year-old Nick Wemers from Canada. His goal initially was to try and get into the Paris Olympic Games. Here he is in Tokyo. It's all happening rather quickly, but a great experience for the young man. Perhaps he can post the fastest time here. 7th at the Pan Am Championships. He wants to go faster here in Tokyo. He's going to bring it home. He's bringing it home well. Can he go fastest? Yes, he can. So Nick Wemers goes to the top of the leaderboard at 9.587.
Nick Wemers, a rider for the future to watch as well. What an experience to be posted at the top of the leaderboard. Might not stay there for long, but he's been there and he's posted a pretty fast time straight out of the box. More than half the field still to go just yet. as we see those new handlebars very prominent in this year's Olympic Games.
Well, 4 riders have been riding and preparing for these games at the UCI, so World Cycling Centre in Switzerland, is South Africa's Jan Spies, the 31-year-old African champion. He's been under the guidance of Craig McLean, and he's spent every penny of his own money to try and get himself in shape and qualified for the Olympic Games. As he winds it up now, Jan Spies from Randburg in Johannesburg, looking to reach a dream here and pace the time that is his very best effort, and that's all he can possibly ask for as he drives now to the bank and in towards the finish. He's down on Wammes' time. He's got to drive it hard to the finish, and he's 0.200 out and 6th fastest at the moment, Jan Spies of South Africa.
Yeah, he's smiling. That could be a personal best. Certainly prepared well, but what a struggle having to go to all the World Cups in order to try and qualify with no funding whatsoever from the National Cycling Committee. But he's just put it all on the line here.
Well, he's 1,000th of a second outside the South African record held by Bernard Estes, and so that's why he's pretty chuffed, because it is a really, really good ride. That's all he could possibly ask for, putting his very best out here. Well, this man was in the team sprint. Of course, Ryan Hillel, they took the bronze to France, so on the rise, the French getting back to the top in the sprinting firmament. But this is a young man, 22-year-old.
Yeah, we think the French team have brought a very young team here to Tokyo, trying to give them experience before their home Olympics in Paris. Winding up early, out of the seat.
And here he comes, 3rd at the Milton World Cup in early 2020. Loud encouragement for Ryan Hillel as he brings it off the bank. He's down at the moment on Wammes' time. Can he bring it home strong? And he's 0.82.
Just outside. You could hear that encouragement from the inside. You can't hear very much when you're in the zone in the actual sprint inside those aero helmets. It's very difficult to hear, but you're just giving it everything you possibly can. So this is the all-important wind-up as he comes down the bank, and when he sits back into the saddle is also a very, very crucial moment on that banking. So you'll see different riders as they come from the top of the track down to the white line. It's all about the line they take, how much speed they've got their bike up to, and when they sit down into the saddle can make a huge difference as to how fast they can come home.
Well, next on the track is Great Britain's Jack Carlin, the silver medalist of the 2018 World Championships. Silver in the team sprint for Great Britain, the 24-year-old. He's from Glasgow. He began his career with Glasgow Riders. And Carlin now hears the bell and unwinds.
He came down the track very, very early. He wound it up early, and he came down the track early into the sprinters lane. We haven't seen that line taken before, but it's the quickest so far. He's so aerodynamic. As he comes in, he'll take the fastest time.
9.306 for Jack Carlin. And that is a superb time. For my reckoning, a new British record. It's a new Olympic record because it is beaten Jason Kenny's time in the Olympic record, yep, which was 9.551. So Jack Carlin has laid it down, and the first record goes. We're not even halfway through the field here.
It was a very different line and ride than we saw the other riders take into the sprinters lane early, and they've got those new bikes that are very different to anything else we've seen. And the Australian now takes to the track.
One of the former world champions. He was world champion in 2018. Matt Glater. Matthew Richardson, beg your pardon.
Yeah, Glater may be out with an injury. Yeah. This is a late replacement.
So Matthew Richardson is in to the race. And here's the bell and goes.
Yeah, took the same line as the British, so he's come down into the track sprint early. Can he better that time? He's outside. He'd have to come home very fast.
And out he is by 0.379, Richardson, which puts him in 7th place at the moment.
Yeah, just an experience for the youngster. And being pulled in overnight too. Matthew Glater withdrawing from the competition and a late replacement. It's a great experience. You can see how narrow those handlebars are. So as the years tick on, the technology changes, strategies and positions. Riders are now riding very narrow handlebars.
The Asian Championship silver medalist in 2019, Zhu Chao from China, who was 6th in Rio. China have a habit of producing wonderful sprinters, but mainly in the women's. They've not won a men's medal at Olympic track cycling.
Well, they've certainly been dominant in the women's sprinting. As he takes high to the track, as he comes around into the home straight.
You'll hear the bell, and now right into that line at maximum voltage and power in. Zhu Chao from China. He's down on Carlin's time, which is blisteringly fast, an Olympic record time. So he's come in 0.278 down, which puts him second fastest, 9.58, which is a new national record, 584. 9.584 beats the previous mark of 9.674.
Well, we see the replay here, how strong they are in the thighs. It's so much work to get the bike up to speed. That's when most of the work's done on those big gears, and then they've just got to be able to keep it going fast. Pedal revolutions to the finish, but it's really mainly about how fast you can come into it.
So big cheer you heard earlier. This is Wakimoto Yuta from Japan. Silver in the Kirin in the World Championships in 2020. A couple of World Cup wins. His first one was back in 2017. And obviously a very good Kirin rider. He was 13th in Rio. Here he goes.
You can see the Kirin riders start to wind it up a lot earlier than the pure sprinters. Into that sprint lane now. Time started. To me, the gear doesn't look big enough for him to produce a super fast time. Will he bring it home?
Crowd bring him home, and 0.212 for Wakimoto Yuta.
Well, that puts him into second fastest. He's got to be happy with that.
He's also gone fastest ever by a Japanese rider. A new national record as well.
9.518. Well, that's going to help him going into the seeding rounds. The higher you qualify, the easier component you'll have to compete against. So technical for something that looks so simple. Trying to get the line right, get the gears right, get the tyre pressures right, be in the right frame of mind. Sometimes you can switch off mentally at the top of the track, and that's why you might hear the coaches yelling at them, pick it up, pick it up.
Sebastian Vigiere from France.
Yeah, everything changes when you get to an Olympic Games, and you've done it a million times before. But we have seen riders think they've got an extra lap before the sprint and completely miss the sprint. He's winding up now very fast, the French rider.
Yeah, he was the bronze medalist at the World Championships in 2018. And the European champion a year before that. So he's got pedigree and he's driving it home well here. He's just under the time of Carlin. But that, remember, is a very good time. And can he bring it home faster? No. Loses a bit of time over the last 50 at 0.245. Sebastian Vigiere.
Well, qualified third fastest so far with 5 riders remaining. So we're going to see the pairings after the qualifying, and that's where the action really starts.
Vigiere's 9.551 improves their mark, the national mark, from 9.786. Here is a former world champion way back in 2013, Stefan Bertiga. He's one of those guided by Christina Vogels, who's sitting not too far away from us here. He missed the 2016 World Champs due to injury, but he's firing on all cylinders here.
Oh, he's just skipped this back wheel there, trying to keep traction.
So much power.
It's out of the seat again, really winds it up now. Into the sprinter's lane early, crosses the white line, timer started. Chasing the time of Carlin. He's just outside.
And he's going to bring it home, Stefan Bertiga, in 0.287 down on Carlin's time, which puts him 6th fastest right now. Ahead of him, Carlin, Wakimoto, Vigiere, Jude, Wemers. That's the top 5. Then Rajkowski, Barrett, Levy, Hillel, and Richardson.
Well, replay there, just winding up at the top of the track. White knuckles, we call that, as they're winding up at the top of the track, pulling so hard on the handlebars that you have white knuckles.
Well, his father, Graham, was an Australian silver medalist in cycling, and Nathan Hart has followed him into the sport with great success. The World Cup in Cambridge in 2019 in New Zealand. 4th in the team sprint with the Australian squad in Rio. He went to the team sprint here as well.
He's going to have to do a blistering time here. You can see really pulling on the handlebars as he comes into the sprint lane. Nathan Hart, can he match the time of Carlin? He's just outside.
Well, Carlin's time is a very brisk time, but he's posted 0.390 outside that as Nathan Hart. Puts him down in 12th place at the moment.
Yeah, he won't be too happy with that ride. You really have to try and qualify top 24, but also the faster your qualifying time is, the easier the rounds are that you have to move through. But we can see him giving absolutely everything. And this doesn't mean that they're out of the race, because sprinting is so different to qualifying. Qualifying's posting a time. Sprinting is more technical race where you have to really be able to read the other rider, and it's completely two different disciplines.
Kevin Quintero from Colombia won the last World Cup event sprint in St. Petersburg in June, albeit that not many of the riders here were at that event, but he traveled there and put a time down, and he is now trying to go faster than Jack Collin, which would be an Olympic record time. He's laying it down now, Quintero. He's down by 1:40, and he will bring it home at 0.320 down in 9.626. Kevin Quintero, the current Pan American champion.
Now it's a waiting game now to see who of the riders left to go are going to ride faster and hope that he can make it into that top 24.
Yeah, 6 of these riders will not progress, so it's an anxious waiting game for the slower riders. Now, 1 of 2 very fast Malaysians. Mohammed Shah Fidausrom, based in Melbourne in Australia.
Yep, coached by the great John Beasley, and he has produced some champions over the years. And we will later see the other famous Malaysian rider. But this is looking good so far, high on the track.
So Rom was 13th at the World Championships, and he's powering away down the back straight and will bring this home off the bank. And he's 1.58 down on Carlin's time. And he finishes 0.394 down. The last bank is costing riders 1.700.
It's got to be an indication for the riders to come to watching this that so many riders are trying to wind it up too early and losing a lot of power in the last quarter of a lap. So it's changing so much. You see this rider was in the saddle and at full speed way before he needed to be when he touched that sprint line, and it just died at the end as well.
It'll be a big cheer now because not quite, because this is Pavel Yakushevsky from the Russian Olympic Committee, 2016 European champion. He missed out on the World Championships in 2020 due to a concussion. He crashed during qualifying.
He's out of the seat, coming down the front straight, gets the bell. Timing won't start until that white line. He's come in on a different angle. Let's see how his time is.
He was 6th in the team sprint with his teammates Yakushevsky, 2.13 or 0.213 down, and he doubles that, and is nearly half a second down on Jack Carlin's time.
Well, you can see that the faster riders are coming into the sprint lane quite a few metres before that sprint line starts. And as we see here, Jack Carlin, Olympic record, 9.3. Will we see that broken again in today's session? Big cheers from the crowds.
Yeah, this is the second rider from Japan, Yute Yudai, the national record holder prior to the ride early on by Akimoto Yuto.
Oh, 1 lap to go till he starts his time. Now he starts to just slowly wind it up.
He's fifth at the World Championships, so he's got some pedigree here.
Really big gear. You can see he's pushing there in the seat early, down into the sprinter's lane.
All about getting the timing right as he hits into the back glass bend and brings it home. He's dying as he gets to the finish. 0.422, 9.728. Well, that's nearly 200th of a second outside his best.
Yeah, an observation is that some of these riders look like they might be pushing a little bit too big of a gear for these conditions and track, as we can just see them tiring out so much towards the end. How hard it is to wind this gear up. Look how big that chain ring is and how much effort's going into the wind up and how hard they're finding it in the last straight coming into the finish line.
Now onto the track is the fastest man on a bike in a sprint in the world, Nicholas Paul from Trinidad and Tobago, 2019 Pan American champion. Is where he set the world record in Bolivia at high altitude. Now let's see how he goes here in Tokyo at the Olympic Games. Nicholas Paul.
Well, that is the earliest amount of speed, earliest wind-up we've seen. He was going nearly full gas, a lap out from that 200-metre mark, so he's in the sprint at the moment.
Hear the shouts from Craig McLean, his coach, and he's up now. Can this be a new Olympic record? Can he beat the time of Jack Carlin? Paul brings it home just outside by the narrowest of margins.
And he was up again with quarter of a lap to go. He was up on the Olympic record just at the end, but he wound it up so early. We saw him really going full gas a lap out from when the timing started, and that could have cost him in the last 30 or 40 metres.
Well, he would have gone under. He went under the previous Olympic record, but so good was Jack Carlin that that Olympic record has improved to 9.306, and Nicholas Paul 9.316. He's a contender for sure, but we're down to the business end here. Sam Webster from New Zealand, the Oceania champion, 12th in Rio 5 years ago was the New Zealander.
Well, let's see what Sam Webster has here. He's got a lot of experience. Looks super fast in that New Zealand skin suit.
He's the New Zealand record holder at 9.615. Set at the World Champs last year. Can he improve on that? He'll need to.
Well, good line into the sprint. Got his wind up pretty good.
Rock steady Webster brings it off the bank and in towards the finish. He's down on Carlin's time and will finish 0.325 down in 9.631.
Now we've seen a super fast time set by Carlin early in these qualifying races. So Sam Webster will still have a chance to make the top 24 and go through to the racing rounds where it's a completely different game.
Solid ride by Sam Webster in 11th place at the moment. Well, bear in mind that countries like Australia have 50, 60 velodromes, the UK have 30 odd, the United States have 30, 40, in Japan 70. In Suriname there is not a track at all, but this man is making waves, a 27-year-old Jair Chonenfa, 16th of the World Championships, second of the Pan American Championships, and he has posted some really fast times of late. Can he go fast? He's been training at the UCI World Cycling Centre.
Another rider under Craig McLean. Different line. We see there just coming into the sprint lane a little bit late. He's fighting that bike.
Not bad at all, though. Jaya Joninfa, and he will post a very handy time as the third fastest time at 9:4.72.
And also a personal best. He's super happy with that.
So he has posted the third fastest time from Suriname. Again, he would have gone under the old Olympic record. They're doing some great work there at USA World Cycling Centre under Craig McLean, Nicholas Paul and Jayed Joninfa from nations that don't have track programs. They spend many months there being trained and prepared. This is a serious medal contender.
Yeah, and a very, very exciting rider to watch from Malaysia. He trains in Melbourne with John Beasley, and even if he's not the fastest in qualifying, it's not his forte, he can race. He's a man who can race sprints and kierans extremely well. He gets it wound up now, as we see.
On he goes, fourth at Rio, eighth in London. He wants to go better than that here. His bronze medal at the World Championships in 2020, and he brings it home in 0.320. 9.626. He won't be delighted with that, I don't think, Awang.
No, he won't be delighted, but I think his forte here at the Olympics is really going to be the kieran, and he can race really well too, so it'll be interesting to see who he's seated up against, and I'm sure we'll see some exciting racing from Awang.
Yeah, he's always entertaining on the kieran, and that is coming later in our program, of course. Well, our second Polish rider, who rides for Team Novo Nordisk, he is a diabetic, Matthias Rudik, fourth at the World Championships, and he's won 3 World Cups in the last year of World Cup racing, bearing in mind there are only 2 this year, so he's in some pretty decent form. He was in the Polish team pursuit squad.
Well, getting on top of that gear early down the back straight, comes around into the front straight with some pretty high speed already. Powering that bike down to the start of the sprint. Here he goes.
Hits it sweetly, and now into the last bend. Matthias Rudik, 0.81 down. Just drives it in to lose another 100th of a second as he brings it home in a time of 9.493, which is the 4th fastest time with 4 riders to go. So we saw the middle of the field, some really fast times in terms of personal bests and national records, but we're getting to the business end here. The fastest riders seated right down the tail end of the qualification, and it's all about getting the top qualifying times to get yourself the best possible opportunity for the knockout round. Jeffrey Hugeland, silver medalist in the last 2 years in the World Championships, does really have a gold medal in his hands with the team sprint.
Yeah, we'll see a fast time here. Certainly knows how to race. Jeffrey Hugeland down into the sprint lane early.
The former BMXer down that lane. And here he goes, Jeffrey Hugeland, silver at the World Championships. He's up on Carlin, and he's up again. A new Olympic record as he breaks the record of Carlin, and it must be said he made it look very, very comfortable indeed. 9.215. Jeffrey Hugeland in some hot form.
You could just see when he was accelerating here in the replay, once he gets himself into the saddle, he barely moves at all. He's rock solid. See that in the saddle? He's not moving around and fighting the bike. He's just rock solid. All the power going through the pedals. A new Olympic record.
Well, the man who beat him in the last 2 years at the World Championships into silver medal position is his fellow countryman and teammate and fellow gold medalist in the team sprint, Harry Labrazen.
He's the big name of the moment. Let's see what he can do.
Well, he will be, the gauntlet's been thrown down by his teammate Hugeland. So Labrazen will know what he wants to do here, and that's go faster than his fellow countryman.
Well, Labrazen, he's into the sprint lane really early. Solid on the bike as well, aerodynamic. Can he beat that time? He's up at the moment. He's just got to bring it home.
And he's going to bring it home flat even. How about that? Exactly the same time as Hugeland, 9.215.
Yeah, so in the sprint they're using electronic timing, and it has been known that 2 medals have been presented to 2 riders for a bronze or a silver at previous World Championships. If the electronic timing can't pick it, then it's an even score. Be very interesting to see how they seed the 2 riders if they're the 2 fastest. It'll go back on the split times. So who was faster in the last part of the split? If they were equal, they go to the first part of the split of their ride.
An ultimate rider, former world champion back in 2017. He also has 2 bronze and 2 silvers from the World Championships. A veteran of the sport in his 4th Olympic Games from the Russian Olympic Committee, Denis Dmitriev.
Well, he's trying to work that gear up to speed with a very big gear late into the sprinters lane. Completely different line to what we saw from the Dutch riders.
He's down.
Just down.
And we'll post a time of 0.116, which puts him in 5th fastest position now.
Yeah, he'll be okay with that. He's a good racer. He's got experience. But now we see the famous Jason Kenny riding out onto the track. Replay here. Dmitriev. You see how big the gear is. It didn't seem that he got on top of the gear early enough coming into the sprint lane. Just throws for the line.
Well, it's a personal best of his. It's a national record as well. The reigning Olympic champion, 6 gold medals, picked up a 2nd silver medal yesterday. The most decorated British Olympian of all time. Jason Kenny is on the track.
Well, we saw him earlier in the middle of the track doing his sprint warm-ups. His facial expressions didn't say that he was comfortable, but he can always rise to the occasion. He's a 4-year cycle man. He just goes for the Olympic Games. Here he comes down the front straight.
Well, Kenny, can he pull it out again here in Tokyo? In qualifying, here he goes, Kenny. Off the line a little bit as he comes off the bend. He's down on Hugeland and Labressen's time, and he will come home in 0.295 down, 9.510, which again would have beaten his time of Rio when he went 9.551. So a really fast qualifying series from all these riders. Sees Jeffrey Hugeland and Harry Labressen, the top 2 qualifiers. And this man, Jason Kenny.
This is the replay on those very special bikes of the great British team. And he came very, very early into the sprint lane. He's not too disappointed with his time. He knows he's a racer with a lot of experience. And we'll see some fantastic racing later on in the program. But for Jason Kenny, 8th fastest qualifier.
So there they are, the qualifiers after the first men's sprint appearance of the men's sprint riders. So top 24 will progress to the round of 32. Ryan Allal just inside at 20th place for France, 9.669. Bridgestone, Hart, Tarom and Mitchell. Those missing out, Yakushevsky, Nita, Spies, Babek, Ponomaryov and Brown. So delight for the Dutch again, at Jeffrey Hugeland and Harry Labressen both posting lightning fast times here. The Olympic record obliterated today, and not surprising. We've seen records tumble here at the Izu